friends. Hi, Peter.
Hello.
Hi, Pat.
Sarah.
Good day, good morning, good evening.
Yes. From I am, it's still morning. I'm in the Pacific Northwest near Seattle. So it's just 10 a.m. And I think I'm earlier than all of you.
Yes. I'm in New York City, the Big Apple, where we're just turning 1 o'clock lunchtime.
It's an 8 o'clock p.m. in Athens, Greece. So probably I'm the latest.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm in Tennessee, so that's East Coast time. Good day, and welcome to portalsofperception.org. Today we are talking about the soul. Are we liberating our full potential? And just this morning on our website, we published chapter 2 of the Portals into the Soul project, which has been going on for about 3 or 4 months now. And so we understand that anyone joining us today is not going to have that reference. But we wanted to just kind of introduce some of these ideas and kind of just put them between us and see what we can make of it, because it's very interesting. There's a lot in it, and so we wanted to bring it to everyone who is listening. So welcome. And I would say that one of the things in chapter 1 of this work was very much the way that our soul is a companion for us. It's with us all the days of our lives, and it really has the charge or the job of helping us and supporting us and helping us find our way. And that could be for survival, that could be how to learn and grow, and that could be to achieve our ultimate fulfillment and purpose as well. So it works on all these levels, and it's nudging us. We may hear it whisper in our ear or say, that's not a good idea, or that's a great idea. So it's a companion like that. We don't always think of it that way, but this work puts that idea very clearly front and center, that it is there to help us. It's not a silent in the background thing. It's part of our life. It's a big part of our life. And so this work can allow us to kind of reconnect to something that's so important to us. And then in chapter 2, we're introduced to this idea of the ghost. So while the soul is supporting us in all we do, it's also protecting us. And if we experience traumas or unmanageable experiences, it can jump in and put what's being called a ghost. It's a separation. It separates us from the freedom that we would normally have. So that's the territory we're talking about. And so it has these two ideas, but it begins with the idea that we are unique and special, and we all have different qualities, a different combination of qualities, a different configuration of qualities. And so the soul is guiding us to that, and then we can lose track, because we all live in a world that has a lot going on that maybe isn't ideal for a true human journey. So that's a little starter to get us going, and so I put that out to everyone.
Thank you, Peter. A couple of things come to mind. It's really good to remember that the way we're thinking about the soul, or trying to explain, how the soul is a companion to us, this could be very, very different from what a lot of people are used to when they hear the word soul. Because if you come from a religious background, or even a background in some forms of psychology, the understanding of the soul is very different. And we're not trying to compare this to anything. This is just a very different way we're offering people to think about, we have a soul. And every person born on this planet is given a soul as part of our standard issue. And it's a very natural part of who we are. And it wants to help us. So if we start to think about our soul as a companion, as a resource, this is something we can use every day in every part of our life, as you explained. It's not just something to think about when we're feeling holy, or we're trying to connect to notions of God and the universe. The soul can help us try to think about, how we're making a living and how we survive, that level of our life. And as you said, we get these nudgings. We want to educate ourselves and refine and grow, and the soul can help us do that as well. And then getting back to, as you mentioned, that core purpose, that spiritual purpose that we're all here for. The soul is there as well. And it's something that it does give us nudgings. Like in all of these areas, it is trying to help us. And so that's why I so appreciate this whole sort of approach to it, is we think of this as a very practical resource that we can use in every part of our life. And I like that. And the other thing you mentioned that people may not, I know people, I was going to say people of a certain age, the older we get, sometimes it's harder to remember younger, especially what we were like when we were children. And even going earlier, if you've ever had the chance to spend time around toddlers and just how full of life they are. And they want to engage with each other. They're happy, they're optimistic, they're running around, they're exploring, and they're learning. And that is kind of part of, I think you were hinting at, the qualities that we were all born with. We were born to be that sort of engaging with the world. And then as we grow up, we all have experiences where, current day reality hits us, and we find ourselves having to go to work, and we have very unpleasant experiences that separate us from that memory and that sort of natural urge to exhibit all these really positive qualities that are part of who we are. And the soul can help us there as well. Understand when we do become separated, we can use our soul to get back to and understand what it is we've lost and why the soul is really pushing us and really wants to get back to that sort of natural state of being very positive and healthy and happy to engage with the world. And at that point, I'll stop rambling.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that you brought in the word resource, Patrick, because as we've begun this exploration into the soul, I have been thinking more about the companionship that my soul offers, and it really supports you. It supports me, I'll say. I really feel that I'm more in touch with myself, my needs, my wants, my discoveries, and then to layer in beyond the companionship, but the resources to actually be able to use those. And just to tell a little life story, so I'm here in New York with my mom, who's lived in this apartment for close to 60 years. And we're doing, as we say, a little spring cleaning, going through and giving away things that we don't need. And I uncovered a little box with my baby shoes and some of my little baby garments. And I can't even begin to explain what that felt like as I opened this box and found a treasure chest from my childhood. Just the little worn-in shoes, like this big, and they were all leather. In those days, everything was everything was real fabric, little wool, jackets, and I just kind of closed my eyes and held on and tried to bring myself back. Of course, that was very early on, my first year of life. And there was such a warmth and a settlement in being able to feel that. So again, when you bring up this idea of going back into our early days to think about happy moments and happy feelings and where we were before life kind of came at us, it's a great exploration. It's really, really liberating.
Yes, hello also from me. I also wanted to say, in case someone is watching us, it would be great if they can say hi or put an insight, a question, and we will try to integrate that in our conversation. Also, to say that this is an open ended conversation. We are sharing our insights, how we understand the certain notions from this amazing chapter that just came out today. It's many pages, there are many concepts in it. So we'll just touch upon small bites, let's say, from this content, which we will open up more also in other portals, lives, and events. Yeah, concerning the qualities, I loved your examples, Patrick and Lisa. It's amazing how when we are children, it's like the spring of life, and the originality and uniqueness of each one of us flows abundantly, freely. We live in the moment. We have no inhibitions. Um, I mean, if we lived in a natural circumstance and there were not major obstacles, um, no, the qualities arise naturally, and we are rich, a unique combination of qualities. And maybe there is one main quality that it's a bit predominant. It's a bit like a lesson we came here to learn, or a gift and talent from the universe, an investment that we are here to flourish and develop and share with others in service. So I see that in my children, and I see that in all children. And I'm actually jealous of it. Because there is a freedom there is a well-being that is natural, and it's, in a way, it's clean. I can explain it. I don't mean clean in the sterility, in the purity, in the genuineness, and in the innocence, that is, without thoughts before, but that come in after the ghosts develop. But maybe we can bring up the slide we want to comment on, Peter.
The
Yeah.
one with the qualities or the quote? Qualities?
Whatever you think. Which one?
Yeah. I mean, this is a fascinating graphic, because each one of us has a unique configuration. So if you can see these words on here, there's grace, there's peace, there's care, integrity, confidence. And every one of us will have a different strength or lack of strength in any of these qualities. Some we can build over life. Some we naturally tend to pursue the things we're good at. So if care is very strong in us, it may manifest as being a helper or a nurse or things like that. So these qualities that we have at a very early age manifest through our life. And so that's an important idea, that we are unique, because there are no two configurations just like us. And that's what our soul is trying to help us fulfill, is that unique combination.
Peter, maybe you can or somebody can give a little explanation to the different lines, the evolutionary line, the as was meant to be, and the condition line, so that we can have the full context of the slide.
Well, the condition line is really life as we know it. The culture, society, media, all the things that we are familiar with, that has a certain gravitational pull on everyone's life. The as was meant to be line is really kind of the purity of that toddler, where they freely interact with the world. Everything is a wonder. There's joy, there's happiness, all those things that are uninhibited expressions of your best nature, kind of thing. So that's an as was meant to be line. If we were all found ourselves in a great situation for all the days of our life. And the evolutionary line is really what can happen if we can rise above our conditioning and return to how we're meant to be. And that then we're playing at a higher level. We're playing in the that's getting into the purposes of our life and the purposes of life itself. And so we can become contributors to that. But we have to be fulfilling ourselves first, in a way, before we can be contributors to the whole.
Yeah. And also create new, let's say, something that is in the evolutionary line. It's something like a new experiment, something that has not been yet conceived, or go a bit more into unknown territories. So that it's a bit the extra, let's say, that is instilling potential in ourselves and in the design of the human. But coming back to qualities, I want to say that these qualities, they are a bit deeper, deeper. I would say families of energy, core essence, dynamics in the human. They are not, let's say, the kind of love, when we say love, that is vacillating between attraction and repulsion, or that is polarized between pleasure and hate. It's a different state. That's why when I would say when we are in tune with our core qualities, is when our soul flares and feels a well-being, with not a particular reason. There are some times in life you just feel well. There's no reason why you should feel well, but you do. And I think that's when you are closer to, let's say, what is your core essence. It might be peace. It might be people that love balance. It might be people that love flow, or that have a tenacity, a strength, or they are about justice and fairness, integrity, or they have a natural grace and beauty about things. So it's a state, I would say, a natural state that it's a talent, it's a gift. It's what makes us unique. In each one, it might be the same essence, but each one expresses it differently or in different combinations. And unfortunately, life often, and we're going to talk about it later, there might be incidents that cut this natural flow. And usually it's the one strength that you have, as is being said in the chapter, the strength that you have is the one that gets more, let's say, pushed back, which is interesting why it happens this way. And a lovely analogy that is mentioned in the chapter 2, you're very welcome to read it, is this game of warm and cold. I love this analogy, because when we get a bit closer, our soul warms up and wow, feels good. When we get a bit closer to a circumstance, a relationship that brings us closer to that core essence, or it can be a hobby, it can be a job, but that it's in in synchronization and in it's tuning better with our core quality, then wow, we are warm. When we go away, when we go away from it, it's a bit like it's colder, and the soul maybe is not so much flaring. It's not. It kind of not feels such an expansion, because we have to think of it as a loom of energies and many parts.
And what you're saying, it just makes me think about when we develop these qualities or build these qualities, how much of it is conscious? Do we actually set out to be caring? Or is it something that just happens naturally? Or I probably am answering my own question. I would say it's probably both. You know, I remember meeting many years ago with a group of ladies. We meet regularly, and we decided we were each going to take on a quality for a month. And I took on care as my quality for the month. And it was just so wonderful to be conscious about it. And then I decided to do it for a year, you know, not just a month. And I could really feel my life warming up to quality and quality warming up to me. So I think it's a wonderful journey at any age, whether we're young or old, to be able to think about these qualities and look at them as was meant, you know, above the as was meant to be line, that we have a choice of how we want to be with others, with ourselves, what we want to project out into the world.
Mm. And you made me think too, this might be a good time to think about something that comes up in chapter 2 when we're talking about portals into the soul, is the idea that we have these wonderful qualities that we are born with. Every human is. It's part of our birthright as being human. And then we grow up and we get conditioned to the culture, and we get further and further away from these qualities. And then sometimes, I think we've all experienced it to one degree or another, and people do, is we have an event of some kind in our life, a trauma. It could be a physical trauma. It could be with a relationship. It could be with a family. And sometimes the traumas are incredibly severe. And sometimes they're maybe less severe, but they're very disruptive to how we react with the world and how we connect with the world and how we think of ourselves. A trauma comes along, and all of a sudden we don't feel that natural connection to warmth and to security and to love and generosity. Something happens. And that is when, I think, if we remember the fact that we have a soul, and the soul is a partner, it is a resource, and it knows what we're going through. And I think it's the soul that really wants to help us get back to that natural state of what we were like before the trauma. And so we can work with our soul in a very intentional, conscious way and learn how to listen to it. And it will try. It's going to be trying to nudge us back toward whatever that core quality was that we suddenly feel separated from because we've been through a trauma. And so I think I look at the soul as being a very sort of integral part of the healing process, the long-term healing, in trying to get back to feeling the way we're supposed to be. And if you look at the title of chapter 2, it's I think it's the ghost and the compensatory act. I can't pronounce the word, of the soul. And the soul is trying to compensate, right? So if we go through a trauma and we get separated from a core quality of just feeling secure and loved and warmth and generous, the soul is going to try to nudge us back, and it may try to come up with a way to compensate for what we've lost. And sometimes it will overcompensate. And we all can have examples of people who are too much of one thing. And in a way, so if someone is used to being very confident in their relationship with people and something happens and they shrink down in themselves, and they might end up being a bully. They overcompensate for that confidence and the lack of it. And sometimes they have this behavior that isn't naturally them. And you got to wonder, why are they doing that? And you got to think sometimes they're overcompensating for a quality they may have become separated from by some trauma. And it's that soul that always wants to get us back to that natural state, that natural quality. And it may end up overcompensating in the process. So I like to remember that, because sometimes we have really odd behavior. People will tell us, where did that come from? And we see odd behavior in people around us, and it's like, huh. And you got to think, okay, they might be trying to overcompensate. What's happening? And it's, for me, it's just a good way to remember when we see odd behaviors, what's really going on with that person, and in ourselves especially, and how our soul can help us try to heal that whatever that separation was that's leading to some pretty odd behavior.
Yeah, and a lot of those separations, they're insecurities, as you're saying, Patrick, and we lose confidence, and we're trying, I know sometimes, I can do those things when I'm just not feeling secure in my place at that very moment, and sometimes I feel I have to put something in and whatever.
Me
But
too.
yeah, and it's natural, we do that. But what I love in what you're saying is that the soul never gives up on us. It will never just say, oh, she's off base today, or she's, what's going on with her? No, the soul is steady, our steady companion, and is always there, like you said, nudging us, trying to give us those little bits of counsel, if you will, or knowings, or inspirations that brings us just a little bit back to center, if you will, because we all know, we can feel it in ourselves very often when we're just not quite right in our posture, position, what we're saying, what we're doing. And that soul, just, I always feel, is like taking my hand and saying, okay, come on, Lisa, let's go back here. Let's get back on track. Let's, let that go. Don't be so hard on yourself, and let's just move forward. And it's such a warming, a warming to know that that's always going on. There's somebody always in our court.
Yeah, that's lovely. And I just want to also give an example, Patrick and Lisa and Peter, from what you said about the separation. A light one, because we can go into very heavy ones and feel the ripples of our trauma or of our soul's pain and hurt. But I remember when my daughter was little, and we would go to restaurants. One of her core essences is she's very friendly. She has empathy, natural empathy. So what she would do, she would go to another table and say, "Hello, who are you?" She would say, "I'm Marity, who are you?" She was so interested to know the other people sitting in the other tables. And we told her, no, we don't do that. You can go to the other tables, to strangers, and introduce yourself. Which is, a bit learning the manners of the 20th century. But this is not a major separation, just a little one that has to do with manners. But there can be major separations and major pains. And I think what is amazing that is explained in the chapter is what exactly happens energetically to the soul, because we said in chapter 1 that the soul is a bit of a liaison between the spirit and the planetary body, the planetary life. And it's like a medium in the middle, something that balances that. So when there is a traumatic experience, let's say you get a slap on the face, which used to happen, doesn't happen anymore in schools, but it used to happen, or by parents, especially if you don't deserve it, or if you haven't done anything wrong, then the soul just freezes, and there is a separation between, let's say, the spirit and the higher part. And the soul is going to the survival mode, is going in fear, is going, oops, I need to survive now. So it diminishes itself more in the survival mode. And that's when there is fear, that where there is abandonment, that someone is shaming you, where there is attack, where there is humiliation, the whole lot, bullying and so on. So the interesting thing then is that the soul, what we call the ghost, or this other being that kind of restricts itself to the survival mode, gets an autonomous, automatic life in a way. So it becomes autonomous. It starts to, like what you said, Patrick, that sometimes when our children do something that really, really pisses us off and breaks our nerves, and we can't handle it, if we are not careful as parents, it happens to me at least, I go back to this ghost of my childhood trauma, and I become suddenly exactly the parent I didn't want to be. And I say, how did that happen? How did that happen? I mean, it wasn't conscious. It's because this ghost life of my personal trauma has an autonomy. So that is why it's very important, this work that we do, to realize our ghosts. And of course, we're going to find out in this Soul Odyssey how and what we can do about it. It's a whole journey and a work that each one has to do with oneself or with others. But I wanted to say about the separation develops a ghost that is autonomous. That's what I wanted to bring in.
Yeah. Well, I was very much like your daughter when I was young. I would make friends wherever I went. When I was 5, 6 years old, I would just talk to anybody. I was always happy to be wherever I was. Didn't matter. It was all good by me. And, very open to the world. And there wasn't, I don't know of any like one event that changed that. But most people who know me today would not say that that's my nature, because somewhere along the line, there's something protective changed, and I became wary of things and a little bit, had to be more on alert, and so, and you carry these things for a long, long time, you know. It's still in my nature. I can feel that in me as a child. I can know what that's like. But it's not my nature today. It's so when you look at this chart um, of qualities, we can say over the course of our life, um, you know, did the warmth, say you begin your life with 10% warmth, did it grow to 100% in your fulfillment of your journey, or did it start at 50% and now you're down to 20 because of some safety measure that your soul has taken to protect you? And that could be a feeling of strength or confidence, is obviously a big one. People become afraid. They're someone or something rattles their confidence. And so they're just a little bit more inhibited in how they relate to the world. They're a little bit shyer. And that changes everything. It potentially changes everything over the outplay of 100 years. So it's very important, and this soul portals into the soul work is really an opportunity not only to reconnect that we have a soul and what it is helping us, the journey it is helping us take, but it can bring awareness to these things because it's a mechanism It's not a problem, it's a mechanism. And if you understand the working of the mechanism, it's much easier to make the system work again the way it was meant to work.
Yeah, such a great point, Peter, because it's actually looking at these ghost lives or ghost situations and to recognize them. And that's like the first way to almost heal them, to recognize them. And some people say, put a name on them. I have a friend who it's a long story, but she was many years ago, she's quite a bit older than me, in a asylum, what would you call it, for polio? She had polio. I can't what they would call that. And she was taken from her family and put in a country to get better, where she didn't speak the English. Sorry, she didn't speak the same language. It was in Europe, and she felt so isolated and abandoned. And she took this with her whole life, this feeling of abandonment. And only later in life would she ever be able to put a name on it. She'd call it my abandonment face, my abandonment life. And through the understanding of it, was able to heal it. Not 100% maybe, but maybe 90%. So I love this exploration that we're doing in the Portals of the Soul, to actually look at these inner workings of our lives and our past and our current, so that we can maybe leave behind what we don't want to take into the future and strengthen what is, the positive qualities, and work with that as we move forward in our lives.
Yeah, you can see in this graphic that below the boxes of qualities, you've got a separating event. And the kinds of voice in your head that you might hear is things like, I am not safe, I'm unimportant, I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable, I'm not enough. Those are very powerful statements to make or to feel about ourselves. So again, we began with the idea that our soul is here to help us fulfill all our qualities and our unique configuration to its greatest potential. But now we have this diminishment. Our life shouldn't be about things we diminish these things, we diminish these qualities in the course of our life. It shouldn't be like that. We should be growing them constantly. That is the journey toward whatever we call fulfillment, would be to grow these aspects, grow these qualities, and really shine them into the world, because they're all beautiful things. If you have care and peace and grace and warmth and love and connection, and you can radiate that to people around you and the world, then your life is an important addition. But we do get diminished, and that's what the ghost can cause in us. Again, this work is leading us to what we can do about it, and how we can get back on track to the as was meant to be line.
Yeah, and I also want to say that an important notion is that the ghost, it's a kind of clone of the core essence, but in its downside, not in its natural. Let's say if our core essence is strength, a natural courage, then if there is separation from that, something happened and really knocked this courage out of you, and this natural spring of strength, then the ghost will adopt a behavior of strength that is brittle, that it's it doesn't have really the natural roots. It's an imitation. It's, let's say, a poor copy of the natural real strength that is really rooted and it's coming out from your soul. So you just wear a cloak of strength, but it's not your natural strength, or it's not your natural, or you might get an obsession about this. So if things, let's say, are not balanced and your core essence is balanced, then you get obsessed. Why are things not balanced? Why are things not balanced? Which is not the natural balance. So this is what I wanted to add.
Great. That's such a great point. And it's all how you think about it, right? So I know we're going to wind down here a bit, but I just wanted to mention we want to invite everybody to join us on June 1st. We're going to have an event, and Aviv Shahar will join us. He will be leading us through a further exploration of portals into the soul. So go to our website, portalsofperception.org, and you'll see all the information. You can register, and we just will continue the conversation. It just begins to open up in this last 40 minutes. There's so much more to discover.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Visit the site, portalsofperception.org. The chapter 2 is now on the site. You can read it there. But it's also on YouTube as a video, audio narration with a video imagery. And so you can experience it in different ways. And so we'll be doing more of these portal lives into this territory, into this subject as we go. And we hope to see you again. Thank you
Great.
all.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Very inspiring conversation. Thank you.